watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Limitini, and these are today's headlines. Transportation Minister Ghazi Zaitsev says Russia ended the naval maneuvers which affected civil aviation in Lebanon. Thousands of people take to the streets in separate marches and rallies to mark Lebanon's 72nd Independence Day. And French Defense Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian says French jets will be able to launch airstrikes on ISIS targets from an aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean as the state of emergency continues in Belgium. Transportation Minister Ghazi Zaitsev has announced that Russia has ended the naval maneuvers which affected civil aviation in Lebanon. He said that civil aviation can now go back to normal after the conclusion of the maneuvers that took place in the Mediterranean. This comes as Russia had requested on Friday that Lebanon ensures that flights from Beirut's international airport avoid an area over the eastern Mediterranean for the next 3 days. Thousands of people took to the streets in separate marches and rallies to mark Lebanon's 72nd Independence Day after official ceremonies were cancelled for the second consecutive year over the absence of a president. Hundreds of Fatah Party supporters rallied to renew their calls for the election of a president. The longest march, however, was organized by NGO Offre Joie, which took participants from the Baabda Palace in an East Beirut suburb to the municipality of Beirut in the capital's central district. Separately, hundreds of people also joined a march organized by the We Want Accountability activist group from Beirut's Mathaf area toward downtown Beirut's Martyr Square. The group complained of what they called foreign interference in Lebanon's affairs. Now for some regional news, Egyptians began voting across 13 of the country's 27 provinces in the second phase of parliamentary elections after a low turnout marred the first stage in the absence of any strong opposition. The election is expected to elect lawmakers who firmly back President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who has crushed all forms of dissent since ousting his Islamist predecessor, Mohamed Morsi, in July of 2013. Moving on to Europe, French jets will be able to launch airstrikes on ISIS targets from an aircraft carrier in the eastern Mediterranean starting Monday. This is according to Defense Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian, who says that a chemical or biological attack was among the risks, but all possible precautions to avoid one had been taken. Elsewhere in Europe, Belgium's state of emergency has entered a second day amid concerns that a Paris-style attack involving explosives is imminent in Brussels, which is on lockdown with the army on the streets. Shops in the Belgian capital are closed, the city's metro system has been shut down, and residents have been urged to stay home in the face of a serious and imminent threat. Moving on to Asia, U.S. President Barack Obama says the United States and its allies will not relent in its fight to combat Islamist State extremists and would hunt down their leaders and cut off the group's financing. Obama was speaking during a press conference in Malaysia where he attended the annual summit of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. The U.S. president said he spoke with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin during a recent trip to Turkey for the G20 and told him it would be helpful if Russia directed its focus on tackling the Islamic State. He also said he hoped Moscow would agree to a leadership transition in Syria, implying its president stepping down. One person was injured after a fire broke out at the Hancock Building, a massive skyscraper in downtown Chicago in the United States. Firefighters were able to contain the blaze, which started in a residential unit on the 50th floor of the 100th-floor building. Authorities have offered no details about how the fire began. And coming up next, an Independence Day special with Mehmet Abu Nassar and our very own Lina Melfa. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Over to you, Diuma.
Thanks, Linda. After a whole year in the United States, breaking through the stand-up comedy industry and headlining shows at the Hollywood Improv, the Haha Comedy Club, and the San Jose Improv, among others, Lebanon's favorite comedian is back. With a new movie hitting theaters on December 10th, titled Victoria's Secret, and a tour that will take him across the United States and the Middle East, Mehmet Abu Nassar's outreach keeps getting bigger and better. Welcome, Mehmet.
Hi, Yumna.
Happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day. Thanks for having me.
Did you make sure you would be here on Independence Day?
I did, because I thought there was going to be like roadblocks, so I came really early, and It was. Oh, you mean here in the studio or here in Lebanon?
Here in Lebanon.
That's why I came.
You came for Independence.
I came for Independence Day. No, I came here for the movie basically, and that's what we're doing.
I want to get to the movie in 1 second. You know, it's very sad since it is Independence Day. These are sad times because of things that are happening in Lebanon and in the world.
Yeah.
We've had protest over waste management crisis. No president for like a year and a half now. ISIS. And it's a little bit all over the world. And yet, you always seem to champion Lebanon.
Yeah.
It's like we live two different worlds.
Well, why not? I mean, we're doing great.
Yes and no, right? How do you stay upbeat?
Definitely.
It's always a question I ask you. How do you stay upbeat?
Well, unequivocally, yes. We share a border with Syria, which is the most conflicted area in the world right now.
Israel.
Israel. We have 1.5 million, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, almost 2 million refugees.
Almost 2 million refugees. Our borders are practically open, and we happen to be one of the more stable countries in the Middle East right now, which never really happened before. Also, the fact that trash was our biggest problem in the summer is kind of a nice thing. I mean, how long has it...
How is that a nice thing?
When was the last time?
How is that? You were not here to see it. It was
I did.
Terrible.
I came.
Okay.
I came in and out. When was the last time that we had problems that had to do with us? Do you know what I'm saying?
As opposed to exterior
As opposed to like we're
influences.
fighting other people's wars and proxies. Now, in a way or another, we were even with that situation. But, you know, it was better than people, you know, dying in the region. I mean, stuff is really dire.
You know, actually, it's in addition to that because we've had problems coming back and forth. You know, you and I have spoken about this before in interviews as well as live.
Yeah.
We've talked about this enchanted youth in Lebanon and everybody wanting to leave,
Yeah.
and yet you're breaking through in the United States, and you still choose to come back here and be like, well, this is where I'm from, and I love it, and on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, using social media, check it out, this is Lebanon.
Yeah.
Why the love?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would be nowhere if it wasn't for Lebanon, right? Like, I came from here. This is where I became famous and known, and I developed my skill, my talent, was in front of Lebanese crowds. Before I went to Jordan and Saudi and Kuwait and Qatar and whatever and all that stuff, it was in Dubai or whatever, it was all here. And let's face it, I mean, this is the epicenter of culture, not only in the Middle East, but in the world. We have the largest diaspora population in the world. We have, what, 18 million Lebanese outside of the country? Lebanon isn't about where you live. It's about who you are. It's your spirit. I mean, the things that we've been through and the places we've been, and we're still around, that tells you, how could you not be in love with something that great? I mean, we faced the biggest odds ever. So whenever I come back here, I feel refreshed. Whenever I go to the US, I feel like I'm spending what I collect here. I know it's against what most people believe should be the sentiment, but that's what I feel like here, because this is us. This is who we are. It's the only place in the world that's like this.
Speaking of the U.S., now that you've started, you know, a year ago when we spoke, you're about to embark on this journey that would take you to the U.S.
Yeah.
Now you've played a lot of these theaters, you've headlined a lot of shows there. So when you know, because the American audience is different than the Lebanese audience, but as a Lebanese citizen, as well as an American citizen, because you are...
I'm Lebanese American.
You're Lebanese American. Was it hard breaking into the U.S. comedy industry?
It was surprisingly easy. And
how is it easy, especially with what they have going on with immigration there and everything?
That's a testament to, first of all, how powerful it is. This is one thing I learned. Why do you think no comics in the Middle East have been able to break into Lebanon, but they've been able to break into other areas in the Middle East? If you can make it in Lebanon, you can make it anywhere. If you make it outside of Lebanon, it's tough to make it here. This is the most advanced, culturally enriched, powerful crowd you could stand in. Incredibly judgmental to a fault, which is fantastic, because that's what I've been sharpening my blade on.
How do you find the American audience compared to the Lebanese
They come
audience?
ready to laugh. They got no problems. They got nothing going on. Their electricity's working fine. Their trash is being picked up. There's no war that they know of. They couldn't even point out their own country on a map. So they're fine. So you go in, they're ready to have a good time. I go up.
They don't care where you come from.
I go up as Nimmer from Lebanon. I open up by saying I grew up in San Diego, but I'm Lebanese, and I start making jokes about it and go, and you know what? There's one thing that I know. If you make people laugh, no matter how prejudiced they might be, that's it. You've just won. And I found incredible success. Maybe because I'm really good, maybe because they're really nice, but I think it's a mix of the two.
And you are, speaking of comedy, you are launching this new movie, December 10th, Victoria's Secret. This is, of course, different than Epic, which was the last movie you put out. You know, when people come to you and they're like, this is self-indulgent, your own movie, what do you say to them?
I say, how is that self-indulgent? I lose money on these. I lose a lot of money on
Why
these.
a movie?
Why a movie? Because it's an experience. Look, we did a show, there was 3,000 people in one night, right? And at the time the show went down, people were burning tires in the streets, the airport was closed, stuff was going down, and we're kind of in the same place right now in terms of like unrest. But 3,000 Lebanese people got together and we laughed for 2 hours and nobody did anything political. I want us to remember those, I want those images to be the most powerful images of Lebanon. So I want it to be in a movie theater on a huge screen. I want the sound to be all encompassing, and I want people who couldn't afford to watch my shows because the tickets might have been too high or didn't want to give it a chance to be able to do that now in a perfect setting with perfect audio and visual experience and for cheap. I mean, you can take your girlfriend or your boyfriend and you can go for what, $15 for the pair of you.
Let me add that you also produced this movie. We're watching the trailer was showing on the screen. You produced this movie. You also helped enhance the sound. You said that the sound was, tell me.
Sound, if I could enter it into some kind of competition, it would win awards.
It would win awards.
It would win awards.
Like,
we mic'd, the way we mic'd the sound and we did it, I always had this vision. I tried to do it with Epic and I almost got it. But I was very happy that I was able to learn from that experience. And in Victoria's Secret, the movie that's coming out now, we really nailed the sound to make it really feel like you're there. Like, genuinely, it's not like a marketing tagline, but you know, my voice is coming out of the center, and then you have all the crowd all around you. You'll hear people coughing behind you, laughing next to you. It's just,
so you feel like you're there, because I always